guys, welcome back to another edition of Pat from the Blog Cabin. Today we're talking about a subject that I think everybody needs to talk about, and that's how to be secure online and basically how for social media tips for kids and parents alike. Correct, Pat?
Yes, it's a hot topic to say the least nowadays.
So joining me today is Pat Craven. He's with the Center for Cyber Safety and Education, which is a nonprofit dedicated to educating children, adults, and seniors on how to be safer online. Because I honestly think the seniors actually need this as well, because they're getting thrown in a lot of scams online because they don't know how to navigate it.
Well, yeah, and that's a big part of our training for the seniors is about scams, because that is where they're the most vulnerable. They're trusting people, right? And they believe what they see, what they hear. They get an email from the bank saying, "Oh, you've got to go back in and re-put in your information," and things like that. And we're trying to teach them, Mom, the bank has your social security number. You don't need to enter it into the computer. Those kinds of things, because they just don't get it that people are trying to do this to them. But why would people do that to them? And so it is a big part. It's a very popular program.
So before we get into all these cyber safety tips and social media tips, talk about who you are and how you became involved in this organization.
Sure. I've actually worked in nonprofits my entire career. I actually spent 24 years with the Boy Scouts prior to did some work with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and then came across this incredible opportunity about 6 years ago with the Center for Cyber Safety and Education. And, it's just another way to be helping children specifically, but parents, families, seniors, as you said. It's a great way to help everybody. And we're a nonprofit that is really got started, and is our big volunteer base is cybersecurity professionals. And so it is people who are members of ISC Squared, which is your premier cybersecurity certification organization. We are a part of them. And again, our volunteers are the best cybersecurity professionals in the world. So all the different programs that we have, they're put together by the best. So it's not just, you and me coming up with a few things that maybe we should be teaching people. We reach out to the real pros who deal with this day in and day out, saying, what should we be doing? What should seniors be doing? What should parents do? What should children be doing to stay safe online?
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about, because nowadays everything revolves around social media. You have to really take a lot of stuff on social media with a grain of salt, because you don't know really what's true and what's not true. And the emails and the scam emails and the spam emails and everything else. I mean, your head can just spin talking about just one instance. But let's just talk about parents and what they can do with their kids right now. Let's just take that little snippet first.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There is so much going on with social media, and it's one of those things that, you think back to, is this really helping or not? Technology improvements out there. But there are some great tips for parents. We know the kids are going to be on it. And actually, these tips are for us as well, because we're on these platforms as well. But we always suggest that as parents that you start off by researching a little bit, learn about the platforms that your kids want to be on, find out a little bit about TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat, well, all the different things that are out there. And guess what? There's going to be new ones coming out in the next year or two, right? There always is. There's going to be something hot. But to learn a little bit about it, what is it? How does it work? Who's on it? What's the idea behind it? Don't just let your kids just do it, because everybody else is doing it, right? So we want to make sure that we're not doing that. And then work with the children on setting up their profile on those accounts. Make sure that they're not sharing too much personal information. A little tip for all of us when we're signing up for things is often that they're going to ask you a lot more questions than they really need, that are not required to answer. Use the minimal amount of information when you're doing that, so that your kids are protected, and again, even you are protected. Like everything, always start with a good, strong password, a passphrase. Make it difficult, that it won't easily be hacked by somebody. And then one of the biggest things is follow them. get on that same platform and follow them on that. So if they're on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and you're following them, you'll be able to see what they're doing and what they're posting and who maybe they're chatting with or sharing things with, because that's really important. They just don't get that these people who are on there are not really their friends, right? They're not the friends that they would hang out with from school or they would go to the park with. They're not their real friends. And yet they share information like them, personal information, as if they were. And by following them on there, now I'm not saying go on there and like everything and put hearts and make comments about everything that they're doing, but make sure that you're on there, and then you can have a talk with them, because that's the ultimate thing that we all need to be doing, is having a conversation with our kids about what they're doing online, what's good to do online, what's bad to put online. Make sure that they're comfortable coming to you. If they see something that doesn't feel right to them, that they're comfortable coming and talking with you. If somebody does something or says something, or even they've accidentally done something that isn't good, that they can come talk to you, that they're not going to be punished and chastised, that they can come and you guys can work together to solve it. There's a lot of apps out there now that monitor all of these different programs, that will send you an alert when your child has posted something that might be questionable. Those are good, but they're just a tool. They're not going to catch everything. They're not going to change behavior. It really comes down to having that conversation with your children before they get on and while they're on different social media.
Yeah, I mean, because honestly, my girls are like, they're TikTok, my girls are older, they're 19 through 26, but when they were younger, I was like, no, you can only have one social media platform. I had to be your friend. And they were like, but now kids have worked around it, and they've created what they called a Finsta, which is like Instagram, but it's their fake Instagram account that they can post whatever they want on, and nobody can find them.
Well, that's the whole thing. That putting all the different, that's why I talk about those apps and things like that, because these kids are smart, right? They're going to figure out a way around it in a matter of minutes. I don't know about you, but when I'm having trouble with my phone, I go to my kids. They can figure it out. When I'm having computer issues, they help me figure it out, and that's typical for most parents out there. These kids will find a way around it, or their friend will help them find a way around it, or I bet there's a YouTube video that will show them how to get around it. So that's why it's just so important that we talk to the kids, that they understand what it is you're doing, why they shouldn't be doing it, whether it be for their career, for college, right? These people are looking at these things. We've seen those stories where guys get drafted in the NFL or baseball, or get kicked out of college because something they posted when they were a freshman in high school, 14, 15 years old, they thought was funny. It was funny then. We've all know cultures have changed, and things that were funny a few years ago are not funny now, and that can come back to haunt them. And it's hard to get them to think that far in advance. That's where we have to help them.
Yeah, that is so true, because I always used to tell my girls, be careful what you post, because it's going to come back later to haunt you. And I'm like, nah. And then one of them was like, well, maybe, yeah. Once they got a little bit older, they started seeing the instances where like people would come out and say something. Like even now, you have people that are set in their profession that they're canceled or they're kicked out because of something they said 10 years ago.
Exactly.
Like you said,
and I think that's something that can help us in communicating with our kids now, is examples of that they're seeing some of these stars who are paying a price for things that they posted. And again, it may have been funny back then. You may have laughed, I may have laughed, or whatever, but it's not funny now. And that becomes the problem, that we don't know where it's going. So it's best to be a little more conservative with what you're posting and thinking about what you're posting. Not just from that standpoint, but even just the privacy standpoint. Again, I don't want to go dark here, but there's all those stories of kids abducting, kids running away. That information is typically found by these predators on social media, that they're getting to know these kids because they know what they like. They know where they go to school. They know what their favorite food is. They know who their friends are. They can make up fake conversations with people that these kids, they're buying into. And that's back to what I said earlier about real friends. These are not your real friends. They're online friends, and that's cool. But you shouldn't be sharing all that personal information with them.
At what age would you suggest for kids to get on social media?
Well, actually, you're supposed to be 13 to be on social media. But we have found through research that we have done that half of your elementary school kids are already on social media. So that's already going out the window. Your average age for a child to get a phone is 10 years old, is by the time they have a smartphone these days. So it goes back to us as parents as to what are we doing and how are we going to limit that. As you said, they got to pick one. That's a great idea. They can be on one different platform, at least that you knew of, right? That's the other catch, right? They can easily do different names and have fake things that you don't discover. So, but it's up to you to, again, just like anything we do as parents, if you just cut them off or tell them no because I said so, isn't necessarily going to work, because their friends are going to pressure them on the other side. And again, their friends will help them figure out how to get around it.
That is so true. And I want to continue this topic once we get back and talk about how it applies to seniors now, because seniors are getting on social media and they don't know really what they're doing or whatsoever on there. So we'll be right back with a brief commercial. And we are back. That was a brief commercial, but I thought it was really cute about goats. So let's talk about what seniors can do, because a lot of times when seniors get on social media, they think they're posting on somebody's page and they'll just write a status post. Have you seen that, where they just write it on their status, especially on Facebook, and you're like, okay, who was this pertaining to and why did you post this?
It's all very confusing for all of us to be on any of these different platforms. And so, yeah, for those who aren't as maybe tech savvy or haven't been doing as long, I mean, we didn't grow up with this, right? But our kids now have, that they've had this technology most of their life. And so it's definitely of concern. And those scams are a big part that we started talking about for seniors of getting. And those go from everything, that the Nairobi Prince email, right? We've all gotten it. It's still out there. It's still out there because they're still making money off of it, where they are able to continue. There's a whole fresh group of people constantly getting online who are not familiar with that. And so we have to work with that. But there's some other pretty creative ones that they're a cyber type, or even a physical. One is where they will believe they've gotten a message from one of their grandchildren, and that child is in trouble. And please don't tell mom, kind of thing. But I was in a wreck, and this guy is going to call the cops on me. But if I don't pay him $500 for the damage, can you get me $500 right away? Those kinds of things are out there. And it's so much of it's just trying to get them to understand it. And we see a big rise right now in romance scams, where people, and that's not just seniors, it's, so much of dating these days is done online, but people who have literally lost millions on romance scams, where they've fallen for somebody online who may be out of the country, and then they're going to come visit, and then all of a sudden there's a problem with their elderly mom, and he can't make the rent, or he's got he needs help with something, she needs help with something, and we start sending him money. But I've seen and talked to people who have literally lost millions in those kinds of scams. And so, yeah, our guard has to be up constantly. And it's frustrating that we live in a time like this. You think back of where could we be if these bad guys would put their great brains, obviously, to good use of how far we could advance everything.
That reminds me of the commercial that I see. It's a woman that she's like, oh, I met this guy online, da da da. And she says, and then he asked me to send him a gift card. And I remember somebody said, and I knew that was wrong. So I spent that gift card on myself. I spent some self-care time. I love that. And she's so sassy. But we need more things like that. Why is there, I know your organization is working to get the message out, but why are there more messages like that out there?
Well, that's part of the challenge, is that it's just so many things. It's constantly something. There's something new going on. And our organization, and there's a lot of other great organizations that are trying to do that with all levels, with the children, the parents, the seniors, AARP's involved. And there's other nonprofits that focus on scams. We do some work with one that focuses on romance scams. It's a whole daggone organization just focusing on romance scams, because it has become such a big thing. But it's like any message. It just, we have to get it out there. I think another thing you run into is people don't believe it'll happen to them. I have nothing. Why would somebody hit me with ransomware, right? I'm not a big corporation that can pay millions of dollars for ransomware, and the average ransomware isn't but hundreds of dollars. And if you're not familiar, ransomware is where your computer gets taken over by the bad guys and they lock it down. You can't access anything on your computer until you pay the ransom. Just like, again, growing up, a ransom was when in a child abduction or something, there might have been a ransom. Or if your cat got stolen, they might hold it for ransom. But this is holding your computer and all your files, all your photos, all your information. They hold it for ransom until you pay that fee. Well, they make it, in the hundreds of dollars versus the tens of thousands. If mine got hit like that and the ransom's $500, $800, $300, I'm going to think about paying it just to get everything back and not have to hassle with it. If it's $30,000, you can have the computer. I don't have it. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
These guys are smart. They know it. They're business people type of approach to that. It is their business. You have to remember that the bad guys, this is what they do for a living. This is their job all day long. They're very good at it.
Wow. That reminds me of like the phishing emails, because you get these emails and it looks like it's like a spoof email. It looks like they're coming from your bank, coming from your credit card company, coming from PayPal. I know PayPal is a lot and they'll change it so that it looks like it's official, but then you have to go up and you have to look at where it comes from. Right. Like, because their address is different, but it'll have PayPal logo. So people aren't, talk about how you have to look at the details and look at the specifics.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing going out there, because that's what leads to all the other problems. That's what leads to ransomware. That's what leads to you losing your personal identifiable information, that they can go open up a credit card in your name because you're giving them all that information. And it typically comes from a fake email like that. And you're absolutely right. You got to look for a lot of different things for it. It's one of those gut things. If you're like, this is really weird, or I don't have any package coming from Amazon. I don't have a FedEx shipment coming. I don't have a PayPal account. I've been getting calls lately about my student loan forgiveness that I've been selected, and I'm like, paid those off years ago. I don't have any student loans. You got the wrong guy to try to scam. But you look for those things. You'll find misspellings in those emails. You will, again, is it even something that you're dealing with? Is it even your bank? So maybe it is. Maybe it is bank. Maybe it is PayPal. What you do not want to do, if you come out of one thing from our conversation, you do not want to do is click on it. If you think there is something with PayPal, or you do have an Amazon order coming and maybe there's an issue, go to the website yourself. Type in www.amazon.com or bankofamerica.com or whatever it is that you're using, type it in yourself. That way, you know you're going to the right website. Because even though it has a link that says Amazon and it looks like it's an Amazon, there's so many ways to make those fake. So not to get into technical, but there's what's called a hyperlink behind it that could take you anywhere. But even if it looks like it's Amazon, do you know if the O in Amazon is an O or is it a 0? There's little tricks like that that they can do that make it look like you're going to someplace, but you're really not. So the big thing we push is always type in the email addresses. And that comes with ads as well. We get all these pop-up ads that show up on everything. Don't click on those ads. If you see some special on something that you're interested in, go to that website yourself, type it in, and then look for that special deal, and then look at ordering it.
You just brought me up to a point where it talks about ads, because a lot of people think that our phones and our computers are bugged because, like, you'll be talking about something and all of a sudden it shows up on Facebook in an ad or shows up on Instagram in an ad. And they've noticed that too, like when you're searching for something, it'll show up. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's all the different ways that they're capturing information. They're tracking, they being Google or Amazon or whoever, Google being the big player in this whole thing, tracks all of that. And so they're able to use it, and that's how they're able to pinpoint ads for you. If you've been searching for a new tent to go camping with or something like that, it says, oh, you're in the market for a tent. We have all these advertisers that advertise about tents. We're going to send them your direction. And that's how they make their money. They're selling advertising. And the more refined they can get that, the better it is for their advertisers, and everybody's going to make more money. So it's not, you don't think it's happening. You're not being mysterious. It really is happening. They are following all of that and sending all of that. So there's things that you can look at doing, and it gets a little more complicated. Turning off your cookies. Don't accept all the cookies. Use different browsers that for different things. You can go incognito. Again, you have to do a little research, but you can do incognito on different things. And again, different browsers out there that don't sell that information, but that's how they're making their money. And that's the big debate out there, is about your privacy. What should they know and what shouldn't they know? But they're giving you Facebook for free. There's a reason, right? You get the Google search for free. It's free to you. Somebody's paying for it. Somebody's paying their, those companies are worth billions. Somehow there's money changing hands. It's coming from the advertisers. And so that's the price you have to pay. And you see that now too. I don't know if some apps that you have, maybe even on your TV or on a device where it's free, but you can upgrade to no commercials if you pay a fee. Well, that's where they're making their money.
So you just brought up privacy. Let's talk about privacy settings. What we should have as our privacy settings.
Yeah, as I kind of alluded to at the beginning, as little as possible information going out. Does Amazon need to know where you're at all the time? And I don't mean to be picking on Amazon, but anybody, right? All the different apps you may have on your phone. It's really good to go into the settings on each of those in your settings, and who needs to know where you're really at? Well, pretty much none of them. Maybe the Weather Channel, so you can get good weather updates, but there's very few that really need to know and track your every movement. So those are the kinds of things, but so much of it is just going into your settings and turning off things. Typically when you go in, it's going to default that you have to give them all this information. They want to track you. They want to track your browsing habits, what websites you went to, because it'll make it easier for you next time, right? That they'll already know you love shopping at this store, and so it'll make it easier. You don't need to do all of that. So when you sign up for things, again, minimal information. Typically when you register for something, there's a asterisk or a little star next to the required things in order to get signed up for that platform, for that web page, to set up an account. just do the basics if you really need to do that. But even then, don't sign up for an account on everything if you really don't need an account to shop on some website. You can just shop. They're happy to take your money. And so you don't want to keep that information out there. Even when you're paying with a credit card for a purchase that you're making, you don't want the store to keep your credit card. Yes, it makes it easier the next time, but it takes you 60 seconds to re-enter your credit card each time. There's no reason for them to keep that on file.
That is so true. And with the kids and seniors and even parents, social media profiles, should they be private or public?
Yeah, I suggest private. There's no need for them to be public. That way you keep it to your friends. And it needs to be people that you know. Again, something to teach our kids, but something for us as well. It should be people that you know. People can ask to be. So if you do have an old high school friend that shows up on there, they can ask to be your friend. But they keep it to a minimum, because again, why does everybody need to see what you're up to and what you're doing, what your family looks like, that your daughter just graduated from this high school? Those kinds of information is all pieces to a puzzle that the bad guys can put together. Something we have to keep in mind, again, this is their job. They don't come at this they're going to hit you with an email and boom, they're going to have all your information and be able to go open up a new credit card in your name. They piece this stuff together. And again, we've grown up with this technology now. You could go find easily, any of us could do this. You don't have to be a hacker to do this. You could go find out your friend's maiden name. You can find out their birth date, their kids' birthdays, all this kind of information, where they were born, what city, all that kind of identifiable information that you typically put on a credit card. How often we all have to remember our mother's maiden name, and my mom's maiden name is a big long German name, and so I could never spell it right, that kind of thing. But it's those types of things that you have that information on there. We post it all on Facebook. We get a new baby, and here's where the baby was born, and here's grandma so-and-so and grandpa so-and-so. Well, guess what? We just got the maiden names. We just got the birthday for the child. We just got, we know their first, middle, and last name. We know their address. We got all this information. I could go open up a credit card in your child's name tomorrow, just with information that you find on Facebook.
Wow. That's a really eye-opening thing. But I also want to talk about when you're posting pictures and videos, like when you're on vacation, you want to share with people where you're at or what. That's a no-no, right?
That is a no-no. As painful as that is, that's something you want to post when you get back. Post it when you get back. They don't need to know that you're gone. Bad guys don't need to know that you're gone, that your house is empty, or that your teenage daughter didn't go on the trip with you this year. Okay. And so she's home alone. They don't need to know any of that information. Posting it when you get back is not only safer, but it's actually more enjoyable for your friends, because then you go through and you can just pick out the good photos. You don't have to post every sunset that you saw. You can just post a sunset, or the kids out canoeing, or whatever you might have been doing that you don't have to share 80 photos with them. You pick a handful of meaningful photos that get the message across. So and even that turns down that volume of personal information that you're putting out there, that you like to vacation at this location, that you like canoeing. I mean, again, every time you post something, anybody can learn things about you. They learn that you're an outdoors person. Your child's got on their school sweatshirt. You just figured out where the kid goes to school. Another real quick thing too with photos is you should turn off the geotagging, the metadata on your phone for your photos. So if you've ever noticed, if you go back into your phone and you look at your photos, it tells you exactly where you were. It's pulling the GPS coordinates down, and it knows where you were when you took it, which is great when you're going back years from now and looking for the location. But the problem is that data goes with you when it gets transferred. When you send that photo, it's very easy to go in and find the exact location that you took that. Well, that's not a big deal if you're out camping in the woods, but it is a big deal if your son or daughter has soccer practice at this park all the time, or this is where they go to school. They can literally figure that out from your photos that you put out there.
Wow, I never knew that. I knew that sometimes, like when you pull up on Instagram or Facebook, when you're posting the photo, it'll come up like a location somewhere around where you took it. But I never knew that it went with the photo if you didn't post it up there.
Yeah, it's built into the digital aspect of a photo. Something we didn't have to worry about when we used to print them out, but it's all part of that digital formula that's in there. It has all that information. And again, it's a cool feature from a personal standpoint, from a historic standpoint, but it doesn't do us any good on social media to have that. Now, one of the tips with that too, I will share kind of the opposite of that is, and we were talking about privacy and turning off who's tracking your locations and things like that. You don't want to turn off your actual like emergency location and things like that. You just don't want it to be attached to everything, because it is a great thing if you're using 911 or we've all lost our phone kind of thing, that it's still able to track it. You could be tracked in an emergency if needed be, but there's no reason that FedEx needs to know where I'm at all the time, or the gas station or the grocery needs to track my location.
I love that, the gas station or the grocery. Now, you mentioned earlier, you said password, but then you said passphrase. So let's talk about that.
Sure, that's a great catch. The passwords is what we've all been brought up with, right? And to have it, if you remember, gosh, they used to be 4 letters, Now the recommended is 12, but honestly, the recommended is as long as you can make it. The longer you make it, the more difficult you make it, the harder it is for it to get broken. And still, it's amazing every year, right? They put out the report, the number 1 password is password. Is the most used password, and is password, or people think they're being even better and they're going password 1, 2, 3, because they have to put a number in it now. But what we always recommend is longer the better, and make it a passphrase, make it a thing, make it a line of a song, make it something like that, and it has maybe some numbers mixed in with it, or switch out some letters and numbers is a great way to go. But it doesn't take you any longer to type in an 8-character password as it does to type in Mary had a little lamb or something like that, right? You can come up with that. And it, again, the longer you make it, mixing up things a little bit, throw some numbers in there, throw some symbols in there, and you're going to be much, much safer. You may not realize this, but there's a variety of ways that these guys can crack. And I say guys, it's guys and girls, right? Who the bad people out there. But is they literally can buy programs off the internet that will crack passwords. I mean, that's the kind of world that we're in right now, that you can go and buy codes, buy programs that will work on trying to crack people's passwords. So it's so much. It's not somebody sitting there trying to guess your password, that they know your dog's name. Maybe it's your dog, they're trying to do that. Yes, they can do that, and there's a good chance they might hit it again as they get to know you. But there's literally computer programs, they put it in and it just runs it until it finds it. So the longer it is, the more difficult like that, the safer everybody will be.
So how do we keep track of the passwords? Because I know a lot of times there's a lot of apps that will, we'll keep your password for you. That you don't want to do that, correct?
Well, no, those aren't bad if they're from a quality company. They're often called safes, password safes, or locks and things like that. There's a variety of them out there. The idea behind it for your viewers is that it stores all of your passwords. So you only have to remember one in order to get in to do it. But even then, it's not necessarily needed if you're using something that's easy to remember, a passphrase kind of thing. So you're not trying to just remember a word, but maybe you're doing banking and you put in a quote from Benjamin Franklin or something, penny saved is a penny earned, or, mix it up like that, or something that would make you think about it. But you bring up the point, though, is you shouldn't have just one password that you're using on everything, because if they break it one place, well, they're going to go to Amazon, they're going to go to Kohl's, they're going to go to all the different stores and just try it. Hell, I'm going to put in your email, because that's often your sign in, and we figured out your password over here was this, so we're going to try it over here. And they can easily do it that way. But if you make it something that is difficult and memorable, it's a lot easier. You know what? We've all got a number, lots of numbers that we remember our whole life, that we had to start off remembering, and that is your Social Security number and your phone number, right? And there's 7 digits or more, 9 digits, that we all learned. It's not that hard to be able to learn and remember some passwords. So yes, you can do that, but again, if you're making them some sort of memorable passphrase, it might make it easier to remember if you don't want to try those.
Now, there was a question that you were talking, and it just slipped my mind. Maybe we'll come back to it in just a second if it'll pop up. But I want to talk about friend requesting and following people that you don't necessarily know in real life.
Yeah, why would you bother? It's one of those kinds of things you think about it. If you met somebody at a school function or a church function or a party or something like that, and we'll never see them again, you'll never talk with them again, why do you need to share all that personal information with them? Why do they care about your dog's photos or whatever it might be that you're posting? And so the less is better. Kind of what we were talking about, personal information, the less you put out there, the better. The same is even with your friends. If they're really friends, if you've done stuff together, if you know each other, or your kids hang out together from school, that they become people you know in real life. But a friend of a friend, or somebody who just posts funny things on Facebook that you like all the time, you don't have to become friends with them to see that. And that's even something to be careful. We were talking about the emails and stuff. These things that people are posting on Facebook and Instagram, where they ask you to complete a survey. Don't do it. What's your favorite color surveys, or do you like mustard or ketchup? Let's find out, everybody. You really don't want to be doing on this, because you don't know what you're clicking on. And again, you're often giving them information, or you're giving them permission to access your information. So you just avoid all those kinds of things. Sharing all the different videos you see, whether funny, whether they're political, whether they're scary, whatever. If you don't know where it came from, you probably shouldn't be sharing it.
Wow. There's so much. Let's talk about the difference between business, like for instance, social media. When you're in business and you're a social media influencer, they've always told you, tag the business that you're at so that they can get info to, so they can get, people cross traffic. Let's talk about, is there some way that we can do the line that we're not really tagging? Maybe after we tag, but not before?
Yeah. So much of it, again, less is better. Anytime you're connecting with a business like that, you're giving them more information about you. You're giving them, in some cases, access to your information or to your platform. And so I would avoid doing those kinds of things, and think about it before you do it. So much of it is pause before you post. We haven't had a chance to talk about Garfield, but it's actually the theme of one of our lessons that we use for children is pause before you post. Just think about what it is you're posting before you post it.
So you just brought up Garfield, so let's talk about Garfield.
What made you think of Garfield?
I
don't know. We're real excited. We did a study. How this came about was we did a study a few years back about how elementary school children use the internet. And we found that 40% of elementary school children have already chatted with a stranger online. And half of them have given out their phone number. Now, I said elementary school children, not high school, but elementary school children who are already chatting with strangers online. And that was an eye-opener for us, is that we needed to be thinking younger. Because as we talked earlier, kids are getting online younger. They have a phone by 10. They're already on social media. We cannot wait until they're in high school or even middle school to talk to them about being safe. But we also realize that us, old people here talking to the kids, right, is just going to be another parent lecture. And so we wanted to come up with a different way to reach them. We knew that a PowerPoint for second and third graders was probably not the way to go. And that's when we reached out to Jim Davis, who's the creator of Garfield, and asked him to join us in this effort to teach younger kids, focus on 1st through 6th grade, of how to be safe online. And we've created the Garfield's Cyber Safety Adventures. We've won multiple educator awards for this program, where Garfield and his friends and Nermal and Arlene and all them are on, somebody's in a mess on the internet, and they've done it. And then we try to help teach them the lesson of what they've done wrong, what should they do, how to do it. And we have 3 different lessons that we've created so far. One on privacy that we've talked a lot about, safe posting that we've talked a lot about, and cyberbullying is where the 3rd lesson is. And they're designed, the big focus is for the classroom. We make it available for a teacher, librarian to use in the classroom. It comes in a box that's designed for the classroom. It has everything they need for 30 children. It comes with comic books. There's 30 comic books. There's stickers and trading cards and posters to hang up in the room. It's a lot of fun. And there's 3 different lessons that the kids can get. And we have seen, I won't say instant results, but a lesson doesn't take but 20 or 30 minutes. Again, we're talking about little kids. We can't go on for hours. But we have done studies of before and after that lesson and found a 36% increase in their safety knowledge in just 20 or 30 minutes. So we're real excited about it, and the partnership we have. Everything is original Garfield. It's done by Jim Davis and his team. We hired the Hollywood voices, so when there's a cartoon that comes with it, it's really the main part of the whole thing is a Garfield cartoon. When you turn that on, the kids know that's Garfield. That's not Pat pretending to be Garfield. That's really Garfield, and you have them hooked. Teachers tell us all the time, there's nothing they do all year where the kids are more glued and paying attention than to get to watch a fun Garfield cartoon that has a message with it at the same time.
So how did you guys come up with this idea?
I actually, I know Jim.
Oh, okay.
As I mentioned at the very beginning, I worked with the Boy Scouts for 24 years, and I was working in the Indianapolis area, and Jim's an Indiana guy, and had the opportunity to meet him, and we worked together and put together a campaign back in late 90s to early 2000s to use Garfield to help recruit kids to join the Cub Scouts. And it was a campaign that ended up becoming the national campaign for the Boy Scouts of America. And we've stayed in touch. And then when I was trying to come up with way to reach these kids, Garfield popped into my head. He's been around 43 years. So we've all grown up with him, right? And our kids have grown up with him. He's still the most syndicated comic strip in the world. 200 million readers a day to the Garfield comic strip. And so that gives us that advantage of an international audience. We work internationally, and so we can run this program, and we have in 29 different countries. So kids in Kuwait know who Garfield is. Kids in Germany know who Garfield is. We don't have to create a whole new program. It's just Garfield. And we actually have coming out this fall the Spanish version of the program that we have been working with volunteers literally in Mexico who have done the translation. Again, not Pat's high school Spanish. We're not using we went to the real people who speak Spanish, and they have helped us. We even got the Spanish Garfield the character actor who's in Chile. And so the voices that we're using on the Spanish program, again, the kids who have grown up with Garfield in Spanish will instantly recognize that's Garfield with that lesson. So we're real excited about it. It's available that the schools can order it, or you could order it for your kids' program. Everything we offer, just to be open front with you, is free on our website, iamcybersafe.org. You can get the parents' materials and tip sheets, the children's information, the seniors. There's, again, presentations, tip sheets available in some 20 languages as well, all of those materials. The Garfield one, there is a cost for because of all the printing. Again, there's literally 6 pounds worth of materials in here. And so as a charity, we don't have the funding to just give it away. So we sell it at cost. And so it's available that a school could get it, a church could get it, libraries use it, literally around the world.
Wow. You have dropped so much knowledge on us, and I want to actually invite you to come back on. Anytime you want to come on, anytime you have something new, because the internet is changing daily, basically. And with COVID, maybe going back into with the Delta variant, it's going to change even more.
Yeah.
Because people are staying home.
And think about that, right? Just 2 years ago now, almost, right? That we were wanting our kids to spend less time online. Mm-hmm. And now, all of a sudden, basically by law, they're forced to spend more time online, unsupervised. As you can tell, I'm working from my home still, and you would have kids or parents are doing that, and their kids are down the hall at the kitchen table, hopefully doing homework and schoolwork, but we don't know. It's unsupervised. So what we're trying to teach here has become, as you said at the very beginning, it's more and more relevant than ever.
So, Pat, I want to thank you for coming on and for sharing all these amazing tips. And I know we just touched on just a few. I mean, there's so much more. So tell people where they can find you at.
Yeah, iamcybersafe.org is our website. And again, we're a nonprofit. We put everything out that we can with the help of cybersecurity professionals. So it's a great place for resources. And if you're able to help support us, we would love that support as well. But you can go there to learn about our programs for children, parents, and seniors. And we'll throw this out as a tease in our college scholarship program. So you can come for all the parents out there who have kids that are needing college scholarships. We give away about $230,000 a year in college scholarships. So there's a little something to drive you to the website to check that out too.
Wow. So once again, Pat, I really want to thank you for coming on and for sharing all these cyber safety tips. And I will put it in the show notes and in the caption, all the stuff that we talked about, some of the key tips that he's talked about in case you're trying to write them down as we're talking. But as always, be blessed. And most importantly, remember, keep chatting. And I'm going to add another one on this one, and be cyber safe.
There you go. Thanks.
So have a blessed day, guys.